What's up, guys? We've seen plenty of Hall of Famer quarterbacks meet in the Super Bowl, and many NBA greats square off in the NBA Finals, and legendary NHL goalies meet in the Stanley Cup Finals, and all these baseball icons battling it out for the World Series. There have been plenty of historic and memorable championship showdowns throughout the years, but some of the absolute greatest, most dreamy showdowns are the ones that never happened. I'm Biondo, and today we present 10 dream championship matchups we never saw. Don't forget to leave your video ideas down below. We'll be looking, and if you choose your idea, we're going to give you a shout out in the video. So comment down below. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications because we post videos every single day. Every day's a new video. Subscribe. And a big shout out to DonDonSeahawks 12 for suggesting this video. Don, you must be Italian. Number 10, New York Mets vs. Oakland Athletics 1988 World Series. The A's and Los Angeles Dodgers met in an all-California 1988 World Series matchup. It was Tommy Lasorda's squad that would win the Fall Classic in 5 games. Good on the Dodgers, but baseball historians and the general MLB fan base probably would have preferred to see the Mets represent the NL instead. The Mets team won 100 games in '88 with a plus 171 run differential. They were only 2 years removed from a World Series title as well. The team was absolutely stacked with all-stars like Gary Carter, Keith Hernandez, and Darryl Strawberry on offense. The rotation was formed by Dwight Gooden, David Cohn, and Ron Darling, all of whom won at least 17 games that season. The Athletics would have been a dream matchup against the Miracle Mets. They won 104 games, scored 800 runs, and had their own elite rotation, led by 21-game winner Dave Stewart, as well as Hall of Famer closer Dennis Eckersley. Sluggers Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco powered the offense. But the Mets just had to lose to the Dodgers in the thrilling 7-game NLCS, which paved the way for the lackluster 5-game World Series. Nothing against the Dodgers here, but the Mets and A's would have been something insane in 1988. Number 9, Toronto Maple Leafs vs. Montreal Canadiens 1993 Stanley Cup Final. The 92 and 93 NHL season was one of the last chances for the Habs and Maple Leafs to face off in the Stanley Cup Final before divisional realignment. Montreal was in the Prince of Wales Conference, Toronto in the Clarence Campbell Conference. Led by Hall of Fame goalie Patrick Waugh, Montreal streamed through the Prince of Wales playoff bracket and earned a trip to the Stanley Cup Final. The Maple Leafs had to win a pair of tight and emotional 7-game series versus the Detroit Red Wings and St. Louis Blues in order to reach the third round. The Leafs met Wayne Gretzky's Los Angeles Kings in the conference finals. Toronto traveled to LA for Game 6, looking to earn their first trip to the Stanley Cup Finals since 1967. That contest went to overtime, and Gretzky got away with a high stick on Maple Leaf star Doug Gilmour, which left the latter bleeding. By rule at the time, Gretzky was to be hit with a 5-minute major penalty. The officials missed it, however, and Gretzky would go on to score the overtime winner and force Game 7. Los Angeles would win the decisive contest and set up a showdown with the Montreal Canadiens in the 1993 Finals. Waugh shut down the Kings, and the Habs won the series in 5 games. Too bad. We all deserved one more Cup Final showdown between the historic original 6 foes. And the Maple Leafs would have put up a way better fight than the Kings that shouldn't even have been there. Number 8, John Elway vs. Steve Young in the Super Bowl. We got to see John Elway vs. Joe Montana in the big game. We saw Elway vs. Brett Favre on the grandest of stages. We saw Troy Aikman vs. Jim Kelly in 2 Super Bowls as well. The main point here, we got to see a large portion of ultimate dream quarterback Super Bowl matchups in the 80s and 90s. Unfortunately, Elway vs. Steve Young's San Francisco 49ers didn't happen. Young was Montana's backup when the 49ers defeated Elway's Broncos in Super Bowl 24, but that doesn't count. Young didn't become the full-time starter until an elbow injury forced Montana to miss all of 1991. He would hold down the fort there for good, but the 49ers would only reach 1 Super Bowl with Young. That was in the 1994 season, where they hammered the San Diego Chargers 49-26. The Broncos won both Super Bowl 32 and 33. San Fran lost to the Packers in the 97 NFC Championship game, so the Young vs. Elway duel fell just short. The following year, Young's 49ers fell to the Atlanta Falcons in the divisional round. It was Atlanta who fell to the Broncos in the Super Bowl, which turned out to be Elway's final game. And so the Broncos legend and the 49ers icon never squared off. Oh well, at least Elway vs. Favre lived up to the hype. Number 7, Boston Red Sox vs. Chicago Cubs 2003 World Series. The Red Sox entered 2003 having last won the World Series in 1918. The Cubs entered the season having last won the World Series in 1906. The Red Sox hadn't won it all since selling Babe Ruth to the Yankees. The Cubs hadn't reached the World Series since William Cianis said them Cubs, they ain't gonna win no more in 1945. You know William, right? The man who brought a billy goat to the game but was ordered to leave during the Fall Classic? Well, both teams were loaded with perennial all-stars and looked poised to reach the Fall Classic. Boston led the arch-rival New York Yankees 5-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning of Game 7, but former manager Grady Little left an exhausted Pedro Martinez in too long. The Yankees rallied to tie it up, before Aaron Boone hit a walk walk-off homer in the bottom of the 11th inning. The Cubs needed a win in Game 6 at Wrigley Field in order to take down the Florida Marlins and get back to the World Series. They took a 3-0 lead into the top of the 8th. That's where the infamous Steve Bartman incident happened. The Cubs couldn't recover and allowed 8 runs in the inning, which set up Game 7. The Cubbies fell 9-6 in that contest. The Marlins would defeat the Yankees in 6 games to win the World Series, but the Red Sox-Cubs showdown would have been epic. 2 lengthy title droughts? That'd be nuts. Well, the Red Sox would go on to win the World Series in 2004, while the Cubs finally won it all in 2016, and none of them are complaining now. Number 6, Michael Jordan vs. Hakeem Olajuwon in the NBA Finals. The 90s decade belonged to Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls, since, they won 6 championships between 1991 and 98. But it was Hakeem Olajuwon's Houston Rockets who won the 94-95 NBA championship right in between the Bulls. That's why it would have been fitting to see the two powerhouses meet the NBA Finals. Jordan was retired from the 93-94 season, so that obviously helped the Rockets, who easily handled the New York Knicks in the finals. MJ came out of retirement and returned to the Bulls late in the 94-95 season, but they fell to Shaquille O'Neal and the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Magic would be swept by the Rockets in the NBA Finals. After their 95 championship season, the Rockets' window slowly began to close. They fell to the Utah Jazz in a tight 6-game series in the 97 Western Conference Finals. The following year, Karl Malone and John Stockton's crew took down Houston in the opening round. And that was it for the chance to see Olajuwon's Rockets try to become a dynasty by taking down Jordan's Bulls. Shall we mention Olajuwon and Jordan were drafted in the same class? That was back in 1984. This would have been one special NBA Finals series. Such a shame it never happened. Number 5, Peyton Manning vs. Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning played in 4 Super Bowls, 2 each with the Indianapolis Colts and Denver Broncos. He won it once with each team. Eli Manning led the New York Giants to Super Bowl 42 and 46 championships, both over the New England Patriots. The Manning brothers met just 3 times, in the 2006, 2010, and 2013 seasons. Peyton led his team to victories in all 3 showdowns. But how awesome would a brother vs. brother showdown be in the Super Bowl? We saw brothers Jim and John Harbaugh meet in Super Bowl 47, when the latter coached his Baltimore Ravens to a title over the 49ers. Unfortunately, we never really got that close to an all-Manning Super Bowl. Peyton's Colts won it in 2006. Eli's Giants went home in the wildcard round. New York won it all in the 2007 season. The Colts had gone home in the wildcard round. Peyton took his teams to the Super Bowl in the 2009, 2013, and 2015 seasons. The Giants missed the playoffs in all 3 of those years. And when Eli led New York to a Super Bowl 46 title, well, Peyton missed the entire year with a neck injury. The Colts were the league's worst team that year. Peyton retired after the Broncos won Super Bowl 50, and so the dream Super Bowl matchup was just not meant to be. Number 4, San Francisco Giants vs. Seattle Mariners, a World Series in the 90s. During the 90s, Giants slugger Barry Bonds and Mariners legend Ken Griffey Jr. took over the game of baseball with their habits of hitting large doses of home runs. Bonds led the NL in dingers during the 1993 season, while Griffey led the AL in homers in 94, 97, 98, and 99 seasons. Griffey had 6 40 home run seasons during the decade. Bonds? 3. Bonds' first season with the Giants was in 1993. 97 was the only time during the decade where he took them to the playoffs, and they were swept by the Florida Marlins in the NLDS. Griffey's Mariners only made the playoffs in 95, and ALCS lost to the Cleveland Indians, and in 1997, where they lost to the Baltimore Orioles in the ALDS. Griffey left the Mariners for the Cincinnati Reds in 2000. Bonds' Giants reached the 2003 World Series but fell to the Anaheim Angels in 7 games. Both legends would retire without a championship. If only they had met just once in a World Series. Number 3, Wayne Gretzky vs. Mario Lemieux in the Stanley Cup Final. Gretzky may be the greatest hockey player of all time, but Mario Lemieux was unquestionably the better player during certain stages of the 90s. This guy did win 6 scoring titles and 3 Hart trophies as league MVP after all. But unfortunately, the 2 best players of the 90s just never got to meet in the Stanley Cup Final. Lemieux's Pittsburgh Penguins didn't make the playoffs during his first 4 seasons. Gretzky led the Edmonton Oilers to Stanley Cup championships in 84, 85, 87, and 88. Damn. Lemieux's Penguins finally broke through in 1991, winning their first ever Stanley Cup. They went on to repeat in 1992. Gretzky had been traded to the Los Angeles Kings in 88, and 93 was the only year where he took them to the final. They lost to the Habs in 5 games, while the Pens were upset by the New York Islanders in the second round. Lemieux missed significant time during much of the 90s as he dealt with Hodgkin's lymphoma and a series of injuries. He retired for the 97-98, 98-99, and 99-2000 seasons before making a return to the NHL in 2000. Gretzky had retired as part of the New York Rangers in 1999, so the dream Stanley Cup showdown never happened. Number 2, Joe Montana vs. Steve Young in the Super Bowl. As we said on the Elway Young entry, there was plenty of dream quarterback Super Bowl matchups that thankfully happened in the 80s and 90s, but none would have been greater than Joe Montana vs. Steve Young. Montana led the 49ers to 4 Super Bowls during his illustrious career, but he missed all of 91 and practically all of 92 due to injuries. Young had established himself as the 49ers starter, so Montana was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1993. Montana's Chiefs lost to the Buffalo Bills in the 93 AFC title game, while the 49ers lost the NFC Championship contest to the Dallas Cowboys. Montana and Young met in Week 2 of the 1994 season. Montana got the better of his old team and replacement, leading the home team Chiefs to a 24-17 victory. Young won the League MVP award in 1994 and led the 49ers to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, Montana's Chiefs lost to the Miami Dolphins in the wildcard round, and Joe Cool would retire after the season. We were so close to seeing those two 49er legends meet in the Super Bowl. Oh well, at least we got to see them meet once in the regular season. Number 1, Kobe Bryant vs. LeBron James in the NBA Finals. Magic Johnson vs. Larry Bird. Michael Jordan vs. Magic Johnson. Hakeem Olajuwon vs. Patrick Ewing. Michael Jordan vs. Karl Malone. Tim Duncan vs. LeBron James. Kobe Bryant vs. the Boston Celtics Big Three. Dirk Nowitzki vs. LeBron James. LeBron James vs. Kevin Durant. You name it, those are only some of the legendary NBA superstar matchups we've seen in the NBA Finals. But the one that many of you may notice was missing out from the list, Kobe Bryant vs. LeBron James. These were the two greatest superstars of the 21st century. Kobe's Lakers had won 3 championships by the time James entered the league as a rookie in 2003 to 2004. The Lakers legend and Cavaliers superstar battled for the label of simply being the NBA's best player for about a decade. And somehow, the dream NBA Finals showdown never happened. We got close in 2009. Kobe's Lakers defeated the Orlando Magic in 5 games in the NBA Finals, but Dwight Howard's crew had previously eliminated James' Cavs in the Eastern Conference Final. The Lakers won it all once again over the Celtics in 2010, while James' Cavaliers were taken down by Boston in round 2. Of course, LeBron-led teams would go on to reach 8 straight finals in 2011 to 18, 4 with the Miami Heat and 4 with Cleveland. The only problem? Kobe's Lakers were eliminated in round 2 during the 2011 12 playoffs. They were swept in round 1 in 2013, and finally injuries and age caught up to Bryant, who retired after the 2015-16 season. Fittingly, LeBron signed with the Lakers in the 2018 offseason, becoming the latest NBA icon to don the legendary purple and gold uniform. But why didn't he and Kobe just meet in the finals? That was the matchup the NBA and its fans deserved, and the one we all needed. What other dream championship matchups do you wish we could have seen? Join me in the comment section below. I personally think the Red Sox and Cubs should have been number 2, but whatever. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want more of me, you should go there, because you get to see more of me if you want. I think it's pretty good. Make sure to subscribe to TPS, because we post videos every single day. Every day's a new video. Subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click right down there. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. My knee.